Hey you guys, welcome back to the Beauty in Her Serving Christ. My name is Naya, and here on this channel we as women encourage, uplift, support each other through our struggles, through whatever it is that God is bringing us to, and find his beauty in it all. I am super excited for today's video because this topic is close to home, okay? It's that question that when we're moving forward and God is calling us to a new level, sometimes we stop. And before we enter into that next stage, we ask God, can I really become that woman? Can I really be that woman that you are calling me to? And also, how? And also, why? And also, who? Because you're saying me, but I don't see it, okay? So today we're going to be answering that question, and we're going to leave with a confidence in knowing that, yes, we can be that woman. I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to start walking in that. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you subscribe, like, and continue watching so we can get down to the nitty-gritty. All right, let's get started. Alright, yeah, I know it's been a minute since my last upload, but it's not because I didn't want to upload. It's just honestly because I was having like my own sabbatical with the Lord. God was just pouring into me so much, and he was also accelerating and doing me so many different things. It was leaving my mouth like wide open, like I'm frozen, Jesus. I don't know if I move another step, I don't know if I can handle another blessing. Like literally, that's just what he's been doing. So I'm so grateful to that, and I needed that time to kind of decipher things and put everything back into perspective. But part of the reason why this topic came in mind, because as God was just showing me his promises for my life, and he was showing me just the things that, you know, just the levels that he wants to bring me to, I found myself kind of dueling with the idea that I had of myself and trying to live up to the identity that God had given me. And so in that process, I found myself asking God a lot, like, God, can I be that woman? Where does that woman even come from? And a lot of the times when God is calling us to a new level, there's like this fear and these sense of inadequacies, and you start thinking about what you used to do and where you've been and what God is showing you and what he's telling you. And you want to start walking in that confidence, but it seems very, very, very challenging because you're thinking of, well, how do we get there, Lord? Because the thing is, you've done the spiritual work, right? In order to have the physical manifestation of that spiritual work that you've been doing with the Lord, it's like you feel prepared, but you're also just like, I don't know how this is going to work out in the physical. The first thing that I want you to understand is that as God is bringing you into a new level and bringing you and positioning you to walk out the promises that he has given you, there's a certain place that we have to allow ourselves to get to in order to not be afraid, to not be intimidated by that woman, but to embrace her and say, you know, you belong here, you welcome here, because I'm standing in agreement with the identity that God has given me. I'm standing in agreement with what God has said about who you're going to be, me, because God chose me. The first thing that we have to do, you guys, is drop the cape. Okay, we have to drop the cape. A lot of the times, we as women, we're always strong. We have to feel like we have to be strong. We have to be there for everything. We have to be superwoman and superman. We don't want our weaknesses to show. We don't even want to acknowledge our weaknesses. And we feel like we constantly have to be in control. And part of stepping into that woman that God has called you to be is that we have to learn how to let go, how to give God control, how to take the cape off that the world has put on us, take the cape off that society has put on us, take the cape off that experiences have put on us, take the cape off that trauma has put on us, take the cape off of the responsibilities that were placed on us. Take it off and stop thinking that you're superwoman and that you're going to be able to be this new woman and walk into that identity by the strength of your own. It's not going to come that way. And I say this a lot on my channel, but it really does not come from your strength, because if you walk into a situation, you're walking into a new level, you cannot enter into a new place thinking that this is all going to be on you. That takes away from the power of the Lord. That takes away from the way that God said he wanted to use you. It's getting to a place and understanding that it's not by my might, it's not by my power, but it's through the strength of the Lord. My uniqueness combined with God's power, untouchable. That's an equation you don't want to mess with. But the whole point is, I have to recognize that the authority and the power comes from his spirit. It's up for you to say, God, I surrender. It's a place of surrendering. You can't, in order to, when you're walking into something new, just like when you're going into a new job, a new positioning, a new place, if you walk in there thinking, I'm going to take control, I got this, no. you're gonna miss the point of learning. You're gonna miss how to perform the job. You're gonna miss what the qualities of the job require. You're gonna miss the training that needs to take place. You have to have a yielding. You have to have a sense of an availability to be molded. Because if you can't watch, if you can't listen, if you can't follow, if you can't allow yourself to be teached, to be trained, you're going to miss on how to perform the job the way that it was prescribed, the way that it was supposed to be handled. You're going to miss how you're supposed to show up in these moments. You're going to miss how you respond to this situation because you're too busy focused on being strong and showing up in your own strength. And God is saying, I need you to relax. I need you to take the cape off. I don't want you to miss how I'm trying to show you how to walk out. I don't want you to miss how I'm trying to teach you how to perform my will. I serve a mighty God and he will show up. I'm going to do my part, but I'm going to allow the miracles and everything else to let God do it. Okay? So ladies, take the cape off. I know we don't like to hear that, but when it comes to God, there is no cape, there is no walls, there is no nothing. It's just, Lord, here I am. I'm a vessel, I'm a willing vessel to be taught and molded into being who you have called me to be. I want to be molded, Lord. I want to be taught. I want you to train me. I want you to give me strategy. I want you to show me how to show up as that woman that you have told me I am, that you have placed on the inside of me. I want to embrace her. I want to get to a point where I welcome her, not try to fight her, not try to fight you, but I welcome her. Okay? That's tip number one. Number two, I said I was going to be quick, but sometimes, when you get a word, the word just say no. Number two, you can't answer that name anymore. I need you to understand that you cannot answer to that name. You cannot answer to the name which housed your old wineskin. You cannot answer to the name that housed your old identity, your old fears, your old doubts, your old worries, your past experiences. You cannot answer to that name. And I was watching The Chosen. I finally got on it, y'all. I finally got on the wave of The Chosen. I was like dragging my feet, but my church did a 2-episode showing, and y'all, it's good. Okay, it's good. If y'all haven't watched it, start watching it. Okay, but in one of the scenes, Nicodemus had come to see Mary Magdalene. This is after Jesus had healed her, and he's calling her Lilith, and she's like, Lilith, no, I don't answer to that name anymore. My name is Mary, okay? My name is Mary of Magdalene. I don't answer to that name. I don't know who you is. Get out my face. And this is just to remind you, you cannot walk into the woman that God has called you to still answering to the old you. You cannot answer to the old past relationships. You cannot answer to the old toxic things that you used to get into. You cannot answer to the old things that used to soothe you. You can't answer to the old thoughts that you used to speak over yourself. You can't answer to the lies of the enemy trying to come into your realm and tell you this and tell you that. You can't answer to those things. When you put on a new wineskin, and when you finally stand in agreement with what God has said over you and walking into that, you can't allow old wine to mix in with the new wine, because then it's spoiled. Just like Jesus said, it's spoiled. You got to throw the whole thing away. If I'm choosing to say, God, I want to be that woman, I want to be in agreement with what you have said about me and who you have called me to be, I got to also take out and let God remove the old wine that's trying to mix in with the new things that he has given me. When God says I'm doing a new thing, he don't say I'm doing a new thing, now go grab your old backpacks. He says, no, forget where you were, forget all of that, for I'm doing a new thing. I'm sending you here. It's completely new. And when something is completely new, you don't want to tarnish it by saying, oh, okay, let me throw it here, let me do this, let me do that. No, you walk into an understanding this is a new process. And this don't require the same me. This is a shedding, this is a leveling up. And when I'm leveling up, I'm not going to take with me the things that I used to call myself by. And I'm not going to take with me the people who used to think of me in this one way, who used to look at me in this one way. I'm going to take with me the fact that I'm a new creation, and understand that old things have passed away. So if they passed away, why am I now trying to take back steps to go bring it back, to bring it with me? No. Boo. Let it go. Let it go. Shut her. Lose her. Say goodbye to her. Anyone that tries to call you that, you don't answer to that. Anyone that tries to say, hey, gotta go. You gotta remove those things. Because when you're walking into the woman that God has called you to be, and when you're asking God, can I become that woman? Can I be that woman? It's not, can I be that woman from who I was? No, God, I want to be that woman from who you have said I am. The new creation of me. The one that has a new name that I don't answer to that no more. Don't get me started. Don't get me started, okay? But yes, don't answer to that name anymore. Let her go. Number 3, I'm trying to skim through this, y'all, because I know sometimes I'll be on here a while. Y'all be getting tired of me. Number 3, you have to move with intentionality. I'm not going to talk about this too long, okay? But this, that speaks for itself. You have to be intentional. In this time, in this season, as God is calling you to walk out the promises and calling you to walk out who he has called you to be, you cannot entertain any and everything. You cannot entertain pass things. You cannot entertain things that are going to occupy the time that the Lord is requiring of you. You have to understand that part of being a new creation, part of taking in a new role, just like you worked at one job in one position, when you get promoted to another position, like in a leadership position, you can't do the same things that you used to do before. You can't come in late how you used to want to come in late. You can't call out the way you wanted to used to call out. You can't say, oh, whatever I'll do. You come up with a different type of energy. You come and you're intentional about how you're going to show up, because with the promotion comes increase. And with that increase, not only is the blessings and things around you increasing, but you got to increase too. That means your time that you spend with God has to increase. That means the way that you sit and study your word has to increase. That means that the time that you spend building your craft, the time that you spend investing in yourself has to increase. The time that you spend edifying yourself has to increase. The people that you hang around with that is in alignment with God's will has to increase. You have to prioritize what is of the Lord and what isn't. And if it isn't of the Lord, it gotta go. Okay, I'm intentional in this season. I'm intentional about who I'm surrounding myself by, what places I'm putting myself in, the time that I'm spending with the Lord. I'm intentional with my time, because in this moment, my time is so important. I cannot waste my time on things that are not in accordance with what God has spoken. I cannot waste my time on things that are not in accordance with where God is bringing me to. I cannot waste my time on things that do not align with what God has said. So therefore, I'm intentional. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm being intentional. I gotta move knowing that God is calling me somewhere. I gotta move knowing that I'm moving towards the new thing. I don't have time to get distracted. I don't have time to listen to the enemy. I don't have time to be letting you try to come in my life and make confusion. If it's a threat to the purpose, I gotta let it go. If it's a threat to the calling, I gotta let it go. If it's a threat to the promise, I gotta let it go. If it's a threat to the woman that God has said I am, it got to go. I'm intentional. Sorry. Next. That's just to let you know, okay? That's number 3. Number 4, we're almost done. Part of being intentional about what you need to spend your time with is by knowing who you are. You have to know who you are, because you know who your Father is. Because these levels, they're scary sometimes. They can be intimidating. And also sometimes there'll be people there that is mean, that's envious, the kingdom of darkness that tries to come in and confuse you. And because there's so many, because they already see that you want to move, and because all those factors are playing in, you have to be able to walk into those moments and not waver, be unshakable, be steadfast, because you understand who God has called you to be. You understand who he says you are as a child of the Lord. I have to understand that I am worthy. I have to understand that I do have purpose. I have to understand that no weapon formed against me will prosper. I have to understand that I do have peace. I have to understand that I have a helmet of salvation, that I am operating in the armor of the Lord. I have to understand that I am called. I have to understand that God has anointed me. I have to understand that he has given me power and authority through his spirit. I have to understand who his spirit is. So if I'm operating all these fruits of the spirit, I gotta know who the spirit is that I'm operating out of. You gotta learn. You gotta sit down with God, and you have to understand, who is this God? And why has he called me? And why does he say I'm these things? And what does he say that I am? And let me tell you something. When you come to the place of understanding, this is who God says I am, ain't nothing. When you understand, when God has said that this is who I am, you will see that nothing can stand against that. All them other things, they fade away. They fade away. The fear goes away, because you know that this is what God has told me. Ain't nothing like walking into a room that you feel like you have no place being in, and understand that you're going to sit in there because you know you have the favor of the Lord, because you know what God has told you, because you know who he has called you to be. And I just want to labor this one last point. That's why it's important that God says, remain in the vine. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me will forever be fruitful indeed. That's how you get to know yourself, babe. It's by sitting with God, building relationship with Jesus, understanding that he did send Jesus down to save you because he saw you as worthy, because he loved you, because of his grace. When you understand grace and you operating out of a place of grace and not fear, how freeing. How freeing. Because in those moments when things come up and you start to get scared, you start to think, oh my gosh, how am I gonna live up to this? How am I supposed to match up to this? But no, think about a flower. It doesn't blossom because it's just like, what do I do next? What do I do next? It blossoms according to the environment that it is in. If it is rooted and grounded in the environment that produces fruit, it doesn't say, oh wait, I'm a stem now, what do I do? It just naturally, organically grows and blossoms because of where it's planted. And that's exactly what it looks like stepping into the woman that God has called you to be. when you are planted, when you are abiding with Jesus, when you are abiding with God through your relationship, through your prayers, through your word, when you're sitting with him and talking to him as if he's like your best friend, your father, your confidant, everything. You don't have to be like, God, what next, what next, what next? Oh my gosh, you see this? It's just organically. You walk into those things because of the environment that you have planted yourself in, because of where you are planted, because where you are dwelling, where you are remaining. It's a byproduct of where you are. It's not about how can I do this, but it's just literally by you making the decision to say, I choose God. I'm going to sit with God, and I'm going to believe what God told me, and I'm going to recite these things over myself. The bear much fruit is from the abiding, from the pruning, from sitting with God, letting him work in you. Read John 15 when you guys get the chance. It really is so good. So good. And the last point that I want to share, when you're walking into the woman that God has called you to be, I want you to remember to trust the process. Okay? We're talking about a flower blooming. There's stages in that. There's stages in the flower coming from the little seed to the bud, to the leaves, to everything. It's a process. And there are going to be moments where sometimes, the wind may feel like it's really strong, or the rain sometimes causes you to feel a little weary, or whatever the case may be. But you have to trust and know and believe and have faith that God is bringing you to that next stage, from glory to glory. You have to trust the Lord. You have to trust the process. Not everything happens overnight. Not everything, it took time. God puts us in different situations so we can understand that there's levels to our relationship with him. There's levels of faith that you have to have according to the season. But one thing has to remain in you, just knowing that you trust him. So trust the process. Don't veer off because it starts to look scary. Don't veer off because you're starting to see a storm. Don't look off because you see a little wind going. Don't look off because you feel like you're being overwhelmed, because you feel like you're about to drown. Don't give up. Don't get off the train. Don't get off the boat. Stay in it. Trust that God is going to bring you through it. These are all steps. These are all things you're going to need in your catalog, in your utility belt, to pull out when different situations arises. And if you don't go through the different stages, how will you know how to pull on those things when the moment arises? How will you know how to pray? How will your prayer look like when something pops up? God is showing you, this is how you stand. This is how you become that woman. You trust me, and trust and know that everything is working out for your what? For your good. Okay? It is working out for your good. He's not giving it to you so that by the time you get it, you could just thrash it out and you can't even keep up with it. He's giving you strategy on what it looks like to not only receive the blessing, but also how to honor it, how to honor him, also how to be wise and understand and know that the answer is yes. Yes, God said you can be that woman. God said you will be that woman as long as you keep your focus on me. God says I've already called you that woman. So yes, I am that woman. I will remain confident in this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord. Okay, y'all? So, ladies, let's get up. We gotta get this dance, okay? It's time to get moving. We are that woman. Say every day you wake up, say, God chose me, and I am that woman. God chose me, and I am that woman. God chose me, and I'm becoming that woman. God chose me, and I'm getting to this place. God chose me, and I will be that woman. Embrace her. Acknowledge her. Say, I see you, sis. We going places. Trust that. Believe that. And walk in it. Each and every day, when you don't feel like it, when you're still in the process, when you're still transitioning, when you're still developing, when you're still growing, I'm walking in it. I'm walking in it. I'm standing in agreement. I'm not moving. I'm not moving, Lord. I trust you. All right? All right, you guys. I love you, and I will see you. Thank you guys so much for watching. And make sure you subscribe, comment down below, and I will see you guys on the next video.